Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Aftershock Online. We're excited today to be interviewing a friend of mine and someone who works in a local business here that's expanded in some amazing ways, and I'm really excited to hear about the strategies. So let me introduce you to Paul Bennett. Quick background, Paul works for Karis Pen Company, a division of Karis Customs. He has a background in logistics and sales as a retail manager for a Fortune 500 company and served for 7 years in the United States Army. He is completing a degree in nonprofit leadership and management at Arizona State University. He joined Karis Pen Company in 2015 as the head of sales and marketing, corporate account management, retail partnership, and client services. Well, welcome, Paul. That's a lot.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you for your service. 7 years as a military man. How was that on the family? How was it being in the military?
It was difficult. I mean, I spent almost exactly half my military service away from my family. I deployed 3 times to Iraq, and between other assignments and training and stuff like that, it was, by the time I was done, I had spent basically half that time gone, and my wife was basically a single mother, and it was pretty difficult, but, you know, it was a learning experience. I gained a lot out of it as far as leadership skills and how to manage small groups and stuff like that. And so it turned out to be, I was able to turn some of the stuff into positives that have directly impacted the rest of, you know, what I've done since then. So
that's fantastic. I mean, I have been fortunate enough to know a lot of, veterans, and I can't say that there's many of them that have gone into the corporate world or own their own business that didn't go on to be successful, because they did learn a lot of things and they went through challenges that most of us don't go through.
Yeah, so it does build a lot of, you have to think about things different, and I just think that it sets you up to think outside the box and approach things differently. That, it gives you a different set of tools.
Absolutely. Well, I will say we know each other through your wife, Amelia. She works with me at Aftershock, and she's been such a blessing with us. We've been working together, I guess, a little over a year and a half now. But we got a cool private tour of the machine shop, Karis. So before we get into it, tell us a little bit about Karis and who you guys are, what you do.
So I work for Karis Customs and Karis Pen Co. Karis Customs is the machine shop side of the business. In 2008, Bill Karis started his own machine shop. He has a background over 25 years in machining. He started machining when he was 17 years old, and just kind of worked his way through the industry. After working in a large machine shop, he decided to kind of set out on his own in 2008, started Karis Customs as a traditional machine shop, did a lot of automobile work and customization, and in different industries. And then in about 2010, we started getting involved in retail goods and kind of crafting our own designs. A lot of it was iPhone cases and iPad cases. And
what kind of materials?
Using predominantly aluminum, brass, copper, some titanium in the early stuff.
That was like brand new at that time. That wasn't something that was heavily manufactured.
No, especially not in anything like this. We were we were lucky enough at almost every step of the way to kind of be at the forefront of what was going on in terms of machining in a luxury goods or non-traditional fashion, and then transferring that to a retail business model.
Right.
And then we kind of just grew the pens out of that. Some Kickstarter design stuff went on in 2010. It started to grow bigger, and my partner, Dan Bishop, who's a industrial designer, was big into researching that type of retail method to get out products that you didn't necessarily know if they were going to succeed or fail, and how that business model kind of worked with small businesses. And he designed a pen, and 5 successful Kickstarter campaigns since then, and we've kind of grown the business out of that and moved away from that. And now, whereas when we started, 100% of the business was in traditional machining. Now, probably 80% of our business is all in the pens, and 20% of it is in traditional machining. So
wow. So let's talk to the pen aficionados for a minute, right? Because I've been fortunate enough to been using your pens for about a year and a half. Amelia brought me my first one that you had made, and it's got our logo on it. Don't know if you guys can see it or not, but these are sweet. Talk a little bit about what makes your pen different in a kind of a saturated industry to pen aficionados, and why you guys have been successful.
Well, a lot of it dealt with more with us kind of cultivating the audience on its own, because we're not a traditional pen manufacturer. Most people that are traditional pen people, like they're not metal. They don't like metal pens. They're in fact they kind of lean towards not using metal instruments. So we appealed initially to the everyday carry kind of community that was into, custom knives and high-end watches, firearms, stuff like that, where our design spoke to those same type of people. We do a lot of things that are reminiscent of that. And the first pen that we designed was basically, we wanted to design a pen that would have fit in the 1950s and 1960s. So every single element on our original design, you could have manufactured it in the 50s or 60s. It wouldn't have looked out of place in a toolbox. If you were to open your father or your grandfather's toolbox and be like, oh, this pen would have fit in that design motif, because both Bill and Dan are heavily influenced by mid-century American design and aesthetics and cars and stuff like that. And so we kind of leaned heavily on that, but there was elements in it that spoke to that same community of everyday carry kind of gearhead people that were like, wow, this is really cool. So I think we grew the initial business with those people, and we weren't actively engaged with the pen community outside of talking to some new people, some reviewers, people who had blogs and stuff like that were kind of pushing for a younger audience, and featuring some new products like ours. So we were kind of a totally different design, a totally different aesthetic. But in a traditional way, whereas pens that were made in the 20s and 30s would have been made in a machine shop and not in a molding factory, like most high-end pens out there are, we kind of went back to that. And our whole design, big thing was like quality. And you buy our pen, it's a pen you're going to have for not just one lifetime, but literally like you can pass this down to your kids.
Yeah. You can run this thing over with a bus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still going to be okay.
We've had people that accidentally dropped full 1,000-pound pallets on top of them, and they had some dents and dings on them. But
right.
They're made to last a lifetime, and people kind of scratch their heads like, why are you making a pen and that's a disposable item, making it so that you only ever have to have one. But we wanted it to be quality, and we're speaking more towards a group of people that largely, they have a kind of a collector's mindset. So they come back, we have different items, they purchase multiple items. So, but we were kind of at the forefront of all that stuff in terms of this type of, like when we started out, there was 2 pens on the market that were brass or copper that were in the same design motif. And we've grown that whole section of the community, like our own. People base their pricing of their pens off of what we've done.
Wow.
So yeah, it was kind of one of those things where we kind of scratched our heads and had to decide where we were going to place things, where we were going to price things, how we were going to market this item, because it just wasn't. There was nothing for us to go on, really.
Right. So you really, I don't want to say got lucky, but you identified an audience very early. Tell me, how did you start, like, how did you get the analytics to really know, like, the everyday carry or some of that other audience was who you started making products for?
Well, the engagement was there largely because we used Instagram. Like, we started with Instagram, like, right from the get-go, and really pushed a lot of stuff with Instagram and got a lot of feedback, and grew that audience, heavily grew that audience. And so we got a lot of direct customer feedback. Also, Kickstarter itself has just kind of a rabid, or did, and it still is there for the most part. They do have a kind of a rabid following. There's a lot of people that just, all they do is like, they're on Kickstarter and they just, oh, this is a cool product, I'm gonna back this Kickstarter. So there's kind of a built-in audience there that we just cultivated and stayed connected to. And then as those pen bloggers and the writing bloggers kind of got big and they got their own audiences, because they were working in a younger community, we benefited largely from them saying, hey, these guys are really cool, they're doing something different, you should check them out. And so the analytics really, it was largely there because, like, we sold all of our stuff direct to customer off of our website. So we had a lot of direct analytics off of our sales. We could see where the traffic was coming from, but also we were interacting with people online. We're while we have a storefront that we sell out of, 70 to 80% of our sales are direct from from the website. We only have probably about 20 to 25% of our sales are through like retail partnerships. It's not really something big that we do. And even today, the direct through our website, it's about 30-70 split, between 30% of them are returning customers, 70% are brand new customers. But it's all tied into, early on, we got heavily involved into the online side of it. We used every different analytic tools that we could, analyzed all that data. We were matching it with different user feedback forms, communicating via MailChimp. Early on, we got involved with MailChimp and really grew our newsletter to something like 21,000 people.
Wow.
And very engaged at the time. This was back, in 2013, 2014. So it was very heavily where we were involved and like really involved on a daily basis in the community, whether it was forums, whatever it was, we were communicating directly.
It's awesome. So you found that 30% of people were coming back, buying another product from you. So you really went heavy into the email marketing, staying engaged with new products and staying in front of them with sales and those types of things. That's smart. So often it's missed that, you forget your audience that you've already sold product to, no matter what industry. But by doing that, it sounds like it's really paid off for you guys.
Absolutely. It was a big thing with us, what was keeping the customers that we had. We pride ourselves on a really high level of customer service and client support. We have a lifetime manufacturer's warranty on all of our products. We have a service program that we just implemented last year where it doesn't matter if you bought the item secondhand. If you have a problem with it, we have a service form. Send it in to us. Normally, we'll be able to repair or replace the items for free or no cost, and then send it back to you. So, and that along with really just staying, like you said, staying involved with our customers was huge for us. Until this last year, we didn't really engage. Well, until 2017, we didn't do any kind of engagement where we were actively seeking a new audience directly. We were just trying to maintain the audience that we had because they allowed us to grow from, a couple $100,000 a year in pen sales to over $1 million in pen sales. So that's kind of where it was with us.
Tremendous growth. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's from like 2014, really, where we started tracking really hammering down on sales. We've kind of grown from about $350,000 to $400,000, and now last year I think we were 1.1. So
that's great. So where are your products made?
So the products are made in Mesa, Arizona. The majority of the products we do use some. It's impossible to find well, it's not impossible. There's one pen refill that's manufactured in the United States, the Fisher Space Pen refill. Which our pens will take those, but most of the refills that we use are either manufactured in Germany or in Japan. And then other parts, we use other mechanisms for some of our fountain pens and items like that that are made in Austria or Germany. But the goal from the beginning was to source as much of our product as close to Mesa, Arizona as possible. So we partner with our stamping company that does our clips. It's our own design that we designed, but they stamp them in just down the road in Mesa. Most of our anodizing is done in Mesa. We do outsource some to Utah. The material themselves are the aluminum, brass, and copper are basically alloyed in Kansas or Kentucky, other places where So the majority, whenever we can, we try to source stuff as close to home as possible. And then if we can't find an item that fits that kind of mentality, or fits that, or is the quality that we want, then we'll look for other options. But it was also always our goal to support small businesses that were similar to ours, and so it's kind of what we've done from the beginning. And
that's great. And I understand that there might be some pretty big houses that have used your pen. Or will you expand a little bit on that?
We've had without talking about clients specifically, we've have a large clientele base. We've had best-selling authors purchase our pens. We've had government officials. We've Darrow Neurological Institute has purchased quite a few pens of ours. Several people that work in like higher level, like upper management and design for Apple use our pens. So it's kind of across the board. But yeah, we have a lot of different.
Well, I've just heard that there's some specific government houses that wanted to make sure that they had American-made things. That there's some possibilities that you might be working with those particular.
It is. We've reached out to. Well, we haven't reached out. We were approached by a third-party company that basically does all the government contracts for writing instruments for the military, for Congress, for the Senate, for the White House, and we've sent them, we've sent them samples of our pens, and we have yet to hear back. But we get constantly contacted by similar type. Well, I mean, I guess not similar, but we're not going to turn anybody down
People
that wants
that want to buy American-made.
Yeah. So we've made custom pieces for large auto manufacturers. We had a big we did 1,000 pins for Mack trucks,
Cool.
custom pieces for them when they released a new line of trucks last year. So yeah, so it's kind of all over. Like we're not, it's one of those American-made things, and our prices are, when you look at what else is out there in terms of made in America, or even just high-end writing instruments. In general, our prices are really, for the quality that you're getting, they're on the lower end of the price spectrum.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is tremendous. I compared it when I got it. I'm like, oh my goodness, how much does this cost? And I was like, wow, okay, it's good, price point. But I mean, there's other names I won't name that I consider a lower quality pen that are selling as much or more, for something that this will last forever. That might last, 10 years. So, it's nice to be able to put out a product, that can be a keepsake and pass down. That's pretty amazing. So let me ask you this, and I know you've touched a little bit on some of this, but how have you differentiated yourself and had success in a very saturated industry? Let's just say in the last year. What are some things you guys have done the last year to catapult yourself in this industry?
In the last year, we've really we've changed our mindset where now we are really pushing. We have not decided to not continue to advertise to our current customers. We still, actively talk to our current customers, but we've added Google AdWords, which is something we've never done in the past. We prior to MailChimp changing their platform, because they've done a lot of drastic changes in the last 10 or 12 months. But just prior to that, we moved from them to Infusionsoft, which is a local CRM software.
Gilbert.
Yep. So we use them, and that has their platform is at the time was far more robust and allowed us to do a lot more things than MailChimp did. And that actually, we incentivized our newsletter program through them, where new signups got a 15% off coupon code. So we grew the newsletter that way and got new people to purchase. But between those two things, and then really we moved away from Kickstarter completely because we just kind of realized that in the process of using Kickstarter, you have to it's not like cutbacks, but you have to reduce your prices. And we ran the numbers when we released, when we did one of our new pen releases, and we're like, well, if we get $100,000, if this Kickstarter campaign it makes $100,000, we realize that we're going to give up $30,000 in discounts and shipping and fees and stuff like that. And we just were like, you know what? We know we have we know we have the customer base directly. We're just going to release this direct to the customer, and go from there. And then we've also instituted free shipping. A lot of the stuff that we've done are based off of trends that are driven by a consumer base that largely bases their purchasing habits off of Amazon. Amazon pushes a lot of the retail industry into, you need to implement free shipping because people are always going to ask you why your shipping costs money, or they do a lot of things where your Prime membership is kind of incentivized. It gets you cheaper prices, or it gets you even better shipping, faster shipping. They do a lot of discounts, and so we don't do a lowest price anymore. We've realized that option, like telling somebody this is the lowest price you're ever going to get it at,
Right.
like really doesn't work. Like people, like running sales, people and being able to adequately advertise those sales and coupon codes, like vastly, like we did A/B testing on that, and it was just like, you know what, like we can permanently reduce this price by 15%, and people just don't buy it.
Makes sense, right? Because
Right.
if you can buy something at always $30, or you can buy the same thing at $80, but now because of the coupon, it's $30, but the perceived price is still $80. Well, all day long they're going to do that. I mean, that's
Right.
marketing 101. So it makes a lot of sense. And at the same time, people are still going to buy it at 80 because they should. It's not like coupons are always going on. It's just you have sales and different things, maybe inventory that's going out, or whatever the case is on a new product launch. So that makes a lot of sense. I mean,
But it's very foreign. It's not very foreign. It's relatively uncommon to see that kind of mindset in the luxury pen goods. Like they'll be like brands are very stuck on, this is the lowest price. Like don't ever sell it below this unless we're clearancing them out, unless we're getting rid of them. So there's kind of a lockdown on that mentality where you don't see a lot of this type of thing in the community. So it's surprising to people who are heavily into pens, but it works for us.
Yep. Well, the last time I checked, Rolex is doing just fine, and they have not been the least expensive on any watch that they've ever made.
Absolutely not.
And yet, the Ben Bridges and the people that carry them, they still will run sales 10%, 20%, whatever that case off, and then you feel like you're getting a deal.
Yep.
But that $10,000 price point at the beginning is what allows it to be a great deal at $8,000. So. No, that's smart that you guys are doing that. That's fantastic. Now, real quick, just expand on Infusionsoft before we wrap up with the 3 takeaways. Infusionsoft, what have you found to be the most beneficial features? Because I've been in it, I know it quite well, but it's robust. It's not your everyday just mailer or CRM. It kind of puts everything together.
Yeah, and to be quite honest with you, like we don't even use the full functionality of it, and we've seen the first year we started it, we directly related to our Infusionsoft, we saw a 9.2% increase in revenue, just from using just the mailing function and the coupon code sign up thing.
Right.
Like those are the only 2 things that we used the first year, and it increased our sales 9.2% directly from that. Like because you can track analytics on clicks and all that stuff, and so it's just it's. So I write all the newsletter content, and there's APIs that you can purchase to plug in to add different things that, depending on what type of website you use, there's different plugins to allow you to do different things where it tracks abandoned coupon or abandoned shopping carts and customer habits if they're logged in and certain things like that. So it allows you to really kind of nail down like, hey, this person is really involved in your email marketing, but hasn't purchased in the last couple months, but they've gone to your website, they're on your website and they're interacting and they're clicking on multiple different links in your emails. Then you can kind of narrow down what are they looking for. Maybe we're out of stock on an item that they continue to look at and we just haven't had it in stock, or perhaps they missed a couple sales. So you can reach out to them directly, or you have funnels where it takes them in and basically says, hey, here's another 10% coupon code, we really, or give us some feedback. Like we have a specific email that goes out that says, hey, you purchased this item 6 weeks ago. We'd really like to hear your comments and how you feel that item, is serving you.
Right.
Is there anything we can do to make this better for you? And while we don't get a lot of direct, most people just say, hey, thank you for the email. It's enabled us to get some good user feedback where the next pen that we come out with is almost all the changes on the pen are direct from customer feedback.
Which is huge. I mean, they're telling you exactly what they want. And I love that. So it's allowed you to get more granular with your audience, and then you can have more specific messages for that audience.
Absolutely.
Whether it's through email marketing. Now, are you guys doing any retargeting or remarketing to people?
Not yet. It's something that's coming. I'm the only person that does any of that stuff right now, and it's just kind of, it's on my list of stuff to do, but it's when you're doing all the different things that I'm doing, it gets a little bit
like you need one more thing to do. And you guys are thriving, you're growing. Okay. Well, now let's get into the 3 Aftershock takeaways. So I'm going to read the ones that you sent to me and just expand on this.
Okay.
So the first one, know your audience so you can grow your audience.
So this is specific to our industry, and I think it really applies to anybody who's in like a luxury retail goods or any type of online marketing, made in USA, anything like that. There are vast communities of people that get together online that talk about the product that you're probably going to release. There's toy forums, there's handmade wood goods forums, there's pen communities, watch communities. And from the beginning, we were heavily involved in those communities because it's an opportunity to get direct feedback on what people do like, what people don't like, what's out there. And then we've given out pens to people in those communities just to have feedback on them. So it was kind of one of those things where there's an audience out there for the product that you have. You can find it on the internet. You can find anything on the internet. And if you're in sales and you're going to sell anything online, interact with those communities that already exist because it gets you a leg up on it. If you're just like, yeah, I have this great idea and I'm going to release it on the internet. Well, I don't have an audience. Now, how do I get an audience? The audience is there. You just need to find it. And there's tons of forums. Reddit has forums for everything. So that was just the one thing was like really like we got involved early on in the in the pen community and the everyday carry community, and just were listening and engaging, and that kind of gave us a leg up on everything.
That's smart. I mean, it really goes back to kind of Kickstarter. That's what Kickstarter does for you. It lets you know whether your product's a winner or a dog really quick. Because if the audience doesn't resonate with it, okay, great. I need to retool, find out the feedback, and then change it. So, that's great that you guys are doing that. So second takeaway, analyze your business and marketing models often. Adjust them when needed.
Yeah, this is a thing where when I first started in 2015, it was kind of one of those things where every once in a while we'd kind of nail down on the specifics, look at the analytics, look at the sales, look at our marketing and business models. And now I have weekly meetings with Bill, and we look at things. We have quarterly meetings where we dive deep into the business models and the marketing models. I have this is the first year I've had a marketing budget. I have a $30,000 marketing budget this year, which we've never been able to do that. But it was based on the fact that we really needed to abandon some marketing that wasn't working. Instagram's changed the way that they do things drastically. Their algorithm just doesn't work, even, for us. We've expanded to Facebook advertising, which has gained us a lot. And we adopted largely off of some feedback from you. We've added Google AdWords, and that is a huge sales driver for us. In the past 2 months, we've spent less than $250 and direct off of Google AdWords, and we've made $10,000 sales off that.
Amazing.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Nobody's competing for the keywords you're going after.
Yep.
And you guys have really leveraged that. Amelia told me about that. I was super excited to hear that success.
So it's just, those big changes, that's something that like we've never done before. So it's just like, hey, are we doing the right thing? Is our business model correct? Is our marketing model correct? Or do we need to make some tweaks and changes? And so we're constantly looking at that internally and just nailing down, yes, we're where we need to be, or no, we need to look into this. So
perfect. Well, that leads into the third one. Low risk plus steady rewards equals complacency.
Yeah, and that one has more to do with the whole Kickstarter, which we touched on earlier, and then kind of having that business model where you're kind of in a safe zone where this is working out. Everything I'm doing is, we could have continued to release extremely successful, Kickstarter campaigns. I think our last one, when it finished, was about $150,000, and that's like no risk. You put it out there, once the goal is reached, you're not making anything until, most people don't make anything until after like the campaign ends and then they fulfill it. But it was just like, yeah, we can continue to do this, but we're going to cut 30% off the top in potential revenue. And that's, why are we going to give that up when we know we have, it's more risky for us to say, hey, we have this, well, let's just make the product. Let's just make the next pen. And instead of like pre-selling it on Kickstarter, we'll make the pen and we'll sell it to the audience that we actually have. And if it's a dud, then our audience is going to be like, hey, you know what? This is a bad idea. But we haven't experienced that in the last two pen products that we've we've released. So it was basically looking at things and saying, hey, this is a safe way to go. We get steady sales off of Kickstarter, and it's low risk. But is it really what we need to be doing? Can we make more money selling direct to the customer? And for us, it was, when we crunched the numbers and we looked at it, it was just, you can't stay in the safe zone all the time. Sometimes, especially where we're concerned, where everybody like our competition are still doing those things and sacrificing that, we were able to take the sales. We invested in 3 new machines that increased our production capabilities like tenfold. So instead of doing 500 run machining runs, now we're doing 5,000 run machining runs. And instead of doing it in 8 weeks, we're doing it in 2 weeks. So those inborn sales and changing our mindset and not being afraid to take some risk have really allowed us to grow these last couple of years dramatically.
It's fantastic. And it's true. You got to be bold to get to the next level. You've got to take risks. Otherwise, yeah, you can keep going with the status quo, but you're only going to get the same results you've got to maybe a degree of a tenth.
Yep.
So, well, this was fun. I appreciate you coming out today. I learned a lot myself. And real quick before we wrap up, if you'll just tell our audience, where can they find you, and do you have anything going on that you'd like them to know about?
Sure. So it's real easy. We're Karas Customs with K's, Karas Kustoms. So you can type that into Google or your preferred search engine, or you can just go to Karas Customs or karaspenco.com. That'll show us our regular website. All of our social media is at Karas Penco. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. That's where you'll find us there if you prefer those methods of engagement. If you are a new customer, you hit up our website and you jump on there. We still have 15% off if you sign up for our newsletter. So you'll get that coupon code. But we also do 2 big 20% off sales every year. We do a 20% off sale for Black Friday, and we do a 20% off sale for the 4th of July weekend. We take a week off. Bill gives us a week off paid. But during that time frame, we run a big sale, 20% off. So that coupon is coming up. It's just going to be, it'll be advertised on our website. It's usually just, you use like July 4th or whatever, and in our coupon code, discount code, you get 20% off your purchase. You can buy as many things as you want, as few things as you want. It's site-wide, big savings, and and then we get back from vacation, we ship out thousands and thousands of boxes of pens.
That's awesome. We'll take advantage of that. I mean, that is a huge savings. Well, thanks again for coming on the show today. It was awesome. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in this week. We appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks for our 3rd episode. And with that, we'll wrap up. We'll see you in a couple weeks.